Hi, Irit. Hope that everyone's okay and safe during this time. I'm going to talk you through your task this week, which is going to be looking at creative writing, and we're going to be looking at more specifically writing a short story around a superhero that you're going to create. But before we get into our writing challenge, first thing I want you to focus on is our 5 a day. Okay, and this time I have themed it around superheroes. So, 5 questions just for fun, really, but I want you to spend about 3 minutes working on it. It might not take you that long, but you've got 3 minutes. Answer the questions, have a little think about different comic book characters, different superheroes, the weapons that they use, the villains that are usually in a lot of these stories, because all of this is going to tie in with today's writing task. But before we get into, and I'm back. This week, then, your task is to create your own superhero and write a short story with them in it. Okay, so your do now should have got you guys thinking about superheroes, thinking about types of abilities that they might have. Can they fly? Are they, able to go invisible? Do they have weapons? And such. And that's all going to be really important when we start looking at how we're going to shape our story. Okay. Right, so some people often can struggle with how to begin writing their story or what shape or form it's going to take. Others are able just to get on with it, comes a bit more naturally. Whether or not you're kind of one who finds it difficult or can just get on with it, I'm going to give you some pointers in this video. So my first one would be, where can we begin? Well, at the start, of course, okay? But it doesn't always have to be the start, okay? You could start halfway through the story, it could be the end of the story and you tell it in reverse. We'll cover that in the next few slides. Right, first of all, 2 minutes. I want you to think about a character, okay, who's going to be in your story. More specifically, a superhero. It could be one that already exists, or it could be one that you're going to make up off the top of your head. All right. So I'm going to give you the chance now, 2 minutes to spend brainstorming different ideas, spider diagram if that's easier for you, or bullet points, okay, on a bit of paper, on a post-it note, on a mini whiteboard, whatever you've got at hand at home. And then you're going to try think up as many different things about this character. Why do you like them? What cool things can they do? And that's going to help you when we come to writing our story. Okay, so you should have spent 2 minutes just then bullet pointing, spider diagramming, brainstorming some ideas and choosing a superhero that you're going to include in your story today. Okay, so it could be, like I said, a superhero that already exists. It could be Batman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, or it could be a character that you're going to create from scratch and you're going to put then into this fictional story. Right. So you should have at this stage established who your character is going to be. Is it a man? Is it a woman? Is it a boy? Is it a dog? And we need to then think about this chosen superhero. Okay, so what type of abilities do they have? What things can they do? Can they fly? Okay, can they go invisible? Are they able to kind of shoot laser beams out of their eyes or stretch their limbs or transform into an animal? Can they run at the speed of light? Do they have a secret identity? Okay, if you know a good superhero story or a comic book, you know that by day they're usually a normal man or a woman. Okay, take for example Superman. By day he's Clark Kent and he works for a newspaper, but then usually by nighttime when the trouble starts, not always nighttime though, but mostly nighttime, he becomes Superman. So does he have or does she have a dual identity? Also, do they work alone or do they have a sidekick? Okay, in Batman sometimes has sidekick Robin. All right, so you might have established that for your character to give them sort of a bit more of intrigue and a bit more depth to them. That would be great to see that in some of your stories. Okay, you should have by this point established who your superhero is going to be that you're going to write about. What I mean by established is you should have chosen a superhero, okay? And like I said, it could be one that already exists, Batman, Aquaman, Spider-Man, etc. Or it could be one that you've made up off the top of your head. All right, that's okay as well if you want to include your own superheroes. Now we're going to talk about writing and structuring, more specifically, your story. And what I mean by that is every good story needs the following three key ingredients. They need to have a beginning. Okay, and I touched upon that earlier, but the beginning of your story doesn't always have to start with, one sunny morning or one fine day. Your story could begin halfway through the story, or it could begin at the end. And what you might do is throughout your story is sort of flash back or jump back and forth in time and give your audience sort of the reverse sequence of a normal story. Okay. On the flip side, you don't have to do that. All right. You can tell your story in chronological order. And what I mean by chronological order is, the order of events that they would happen. Okay, so morning, afternoon, nighttime. Or your story could be set over a weekend. It could be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or over a few years, 2005, 2012, 2020. Okay, so your story could run whichever way you decide, but it must have some kind of beginning point. And at the beginning, we try hooking the audience, but we'll touch upon the introduction much later. Right, next point. It should have a middle point. Okay, in the middle is usually where there's a problem. All right. Again, we'll touch upon this in more detail. Okay, but should be some kind of element of conflict or some problem that arises that our characters have to face. And finally, it needs to have some kind of an ending. But whether or not you want to wrap everything up is up to you. You want to leave us at a cliffhanger or make room for parts 2, okay? Or maybe it's trilogy. All right, maybe you've planned ahead, but it needs to have a beginning, a middle, and some kind of an ending. Okay, we're going to look at your introduction now in more detail. Okay, so your introduction needs the following key elements. It needs to introduce the audience to your character for the first time. Okay, so we need to be clear from reading the first paragraph or paragraphs, right, this is a story about Spider-Man, or this is a story about Batwoman, okay, whoever it is you've chosen. You need to try and establish some kind of a storyline, but you don't need to give the whole plot away. So are we witnessing your superhero against a supervillain? Or is it a natural disaster like an earthquake or a volcano? Or are they kind of battling against some kind of alien attack or some kind of monster or zombie? So you need to decide, what is my storyline going to be? What am I going to tell in my story? You also need to think about where is it going to be set. Is it going to be in England, America, Africa, or it could be outer space? Okay, because a lot of these superheroes come from weird and wonderful planets, don't forget. Overall tone, are you writing a comedy? Is your story going to be more action and thrillery based, or is it going to be quite scary? There are going to be some dark moments in there for your audience. You might notice as well, there's some writing in red. I want you to try and use some form of alliteration and a simile if you can. If you can use both, fantastic. If you can only use one, you've still give it a real good effort. Right, the middle section of your story is really important because this is the part in your story where some kind of problem or conflict needs to begin. All right. What I mean by that is this might be the point where your superhero meets the villain for the first time, or something happens. There's an earthquake or a spaceship lands, and it tells the audience, right, there's danger. Something now is beginning to happen. There's a problem. We have to now protect the Earth against this villain or against this natural disaster. And if we don't, lives are in danger, someone could die, someone might find out my real identity, whatever you're going with in your story. Okay, and I've given some examples there on the screen in green writing. How will this problem or conflict be resolved? So can you have a think about, am I going to resolve this by the end of my story? Is this going to be an easy problem to fix, or is this going to take, a lot of effort from your superhero? Okay, so is he really going to have to fight to save the planet, or is this something quite easy that he can just deal with? I don't know, by shooting laser beams out of his eyes, but there has to be some kind of a problem. Has the tone changed? Has it now gone from being quite funny to more serious, or has it quite gone from being maybe an actiony movie into quite dark and scary territory? Again, there's some writing in red, and this time I want you to try and include in the middle section of your story a metaphor and a semicolon if you can. Again, if you can include both, fantastic. If not, and you can only include one, that's a good effort as well, so well done. Right, so we're at the ending of your story. Okay, so the third kind of section in terms of structure. We've looked at beginning, the introduction, looked at the middle, now we're going to look at the ending. Okay, so in the ending of your story, you need to decide, are you going to resolve the problem? And I kind of touched upon this in the last slide. So, is the world going to be saved by your superhero? Is he going to save the damsel in distress who was falling from a building? Or is he going to save the group of school children that are trapped on a bus teetering over the edge of a bridge or a cliff? Or are we going to lose lives? Are people going to die? Is disaster going to happen? Okay. Are you going to leave things on a cliffhanger for your audience? Leave them guessing, wanting them to find out what happens in the next story from your superhero? Is it going to be a happy ending? The world is safe, they all lived happily ever after, if you like. Or is it going to be a sad ending? Okay. Are we going to have lost a superhero or someone along the way? In your final paragraph, okay, to your story, I want you to try and include a rhetorical question and personification if you can. Again, if you can use both, fantastic. If you can only use one, okay, that's still a great effort that you're trying to include these techniques embedded within your writing. Okay, so that is the end of the creative writing task for today. So well done for giving that a go. I hope that you find my advice on this slide helpful. Apologies if you haven't, but I thought I'd try and make things as clear as I could and a step-by-step approach. So establish your character, what they can do, so their abilities, and then structuring your story with the beginning, a middle, and an ending. And then, of course, trying to include those techniques at the bottom of the slide in red to enhance your writing. Last little point then before I go and leave you to it. When you finish writing your story and you're happy with it and you've had a check over it, try then this purple problem task. Pick a section from your story, can be the beginning, the middle, or the end, and I want you to draw a comic book strip on that section. It doesn't have to be a great piece of art. It can be stickman, okay, if you feel comfortable doing that. What I'd like for you to do is have a look at this little image, okay, and have a think. How could you make it as sort of creative and as colourful and as interesting as possible? Okay, can you insert speech marks and we can see the things that your characters are saying? So if you think about flicking through a comic book, we often see comic books, have lots of images, lots of dialogue, okay, and that really just helps bring what's on the page to life, okay, and create sort of that vivid image in your head. That's it for me then. So I hope you find this useful. I hope you all give this task a real good go, because I know that everyone's more than capable. Okay, it's a really nice one today, really, talking and writing about superheroes. Best of luck. Okay, if you've any problems, please do get in touch and someone will be able to help you. But that's it from me. Once again, stay safe, look after yourselves, and I'll see you all soon.